Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, everybody. This is Larry. Are you ready to transform your sales approach and build authentic relationships? I'd like to ask you a personal favor. Pre-order your copy of Selling in a Post-Trust World on barnesandnoble.com today. The book launches on August 13th, and your pre-order is crucial. By pre-ordering, you help us get the attention of stores like Barnes & Noble, building distribution and creating a successful launch as we spread this movement of authenticity. If every listener pre-orders, we will definitely get on the radar of Barnes & Noble. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to our special 12-episode private podcast, diving deeper into each chapter of the new book. Don't miss out. Click the link in the show notes to head over to barnesandnoble.com. Pre-order Selling in a Post-Trust World now and start your journey to authentic sales success. Remember, it's not just about selling. It's about selling from the heart.
Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Oh, Darrell. Hey, great seeing you. We got all kinds of things going on. Here we are. Man, where's the year going? It's flying by, but I'm super excited to be podcasting with you today. Great guest today.
Kristie Jones is in the house. We're going to have an amazing conversation today. And Larry, I'm just so excited about all the momentum around the book. And if you haven't been listening to the podcast recently, you don't know that Selling in a Post-Trust World is coming out this summer. And you can actually, as a listener to this podcast, get an advanced reader's copy of Larry's new book, Selling in a Post-Trust World, just by going to sellinginaposttrustworld.com. Imagine that, Larry. So exciting.
No, it is. This has been long overdue, years in the making. If you all loved Selling from the Heart, and I know that you did, you're going to love Selling in a Post-Trust World. Well, mark my word on that one, right, Darrell?
It's a phenomenal book about building trust in a world where, it's selling. We need trust. Trust is the key ingredient for sales success. And yet we live in a world that trust is at an all-time low. So this book is such a gift to the world. And I love seeing the pictures now as people are getting their advanced reader copies, holding them up, smiling, seeing the pictures all over social.
I love social love. I love social love, Darrell.
It's a blast. If we've got a limited number of advanced reader copies, just go to Selling in a Post-Trust World. We'll get used to that one. sellinginaposttrustworld.com. Larry, so much fun, the community of people around Selling from the Heart. And we love giving a shout out at the beginning of every show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to actually give a shout out to a past podcast guest, but he's heavily involved in our community, Dan Dominguez. He's a breath of fresh air in our community. He really helped me unpack my why. Dan Dominguez, you're a rock star.
Yeah, we love you, Dan. This is so fantastic. Speaking of rock stars, we've got a rock star in the house today. We're excited to have Kristie Jones. She is a distinguished expert in business growth and the author of the insightful new book, Selling Your Way In, the playbook for setting your income and owning your life. With over 15 years of experience, Kristie specializes in boosting revenue for small to mid-sized SaaS companies through new business development, customer retention, and sales management. Her passion for transforming business visions into reality has not only propelled companies forward, but also led her to share her knowledge in this fantastic new book. Join us as we explore Kristie's valuable insights and strategies for achieving sales and personal success. Kristie, welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast. It's great to have you here.
Gentlemen, the pleasure is mine. You know that.
Oh, so good to see my friend Kristie Jones.
Good to see you as well. I'm super excited about your book.
Oh, it's going to be good. Same with yours.
Yes, thank you. Yep.
So exciting. This is going to be a really, really powerful conversation today. And as we get it started, Kristie, you know the question that every guest in the Selling from the Heart podcast answers, and that is, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Yeah, I think it's authenticity. So, and sometimes my son would say it's too much brutal honesty, but I think it's doing the right thing, right? Like my motto is do the right thing and the right things will happen. And so whether that means that, telling a prospect that they're not a good fit for my services, or that they need to spend so much more time on go-to-market strategy. But I think selling from the heart means that you care enough to be honest with folks and let them know things that will help make them and their companies better.
Oh, this is good. And the first word besides authenticity, and I'm glad that you dropped it's integrity. And Darrell knows this, our listeners know this. I'm a big Andy Stanley fan. And he says, about integrity, it's doing those right things, even when those right things mean saying no to somebody. And I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm glad you brought that up, because so often in sales, we fail to say no, even when we know it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, I tell the following story. When my last W-2 job, when I worked at a SaaS company, I had a prospect land in my voicemail, because apparently when I take my sales team off the floor to do sales meetings and the phone rings and nobody answers, it landed in my voicemail. And so when I thought I was going to do some research, I did some research before I was going to call him back and introduce him to someone else. But I thought I would keep this one for myself. It happened to actually be a local prospect. And he went through all of the reasons why he thought he needed our SaaS software product. And in the end, I told him I didn't think he did, and that I didn't think his team was big enough. I didn't think he was far enough down the journey. And I told him, when you get to this stage, you should call me back. But here are a couple of other low cost, less advanced, and would take less time to implement and get up and running. And about 5 months later, I had left that organization and had just started my consulting business. And he landed in my LinkedIn and said, "Hey, can we have a chat?" I had no clue who he was. I had no recollection about anything. I looked him up. His name didn't look familiar. He didn't look familiar. His company didn't look familiar. And when I reached out to him, I was embarrassed, because I assumed I had to have known him, right? And I said, "I am so sorry, Dave." I said, "I don't remember you. It's obvious that we've met before." And he said, he goes, "I talked to you when you were at the last company and you refused to sell me the product." And I was like, and then I knew exactly who he was, right? And I go, "I'm a little surprised that you'd been following me in my journey," because I had just started my consulting business just a few months before. And he said, "Yeah, you know what? You made a really big impression. No one's ever refused to sell me anything before." And he became one of the most profitable or highest revenue clients I had that year. He brought me on as a consultant, and I worked with he and his organization for a year. And so, but that was just me doing me, right? That was just me, do the right things and the right things will happen. I say the universe will always take care of you. But that's the story I like to tell, because I was horrified. I couldn't believe I didn't know who he was. But, when you refuse to sell something, apparently it stays with you.
I love that story. That is such a cool example of all that. And this is all about building trust. And I am so excited that your new book is being released right around the time this podcast is coming out. So you want to go grab a copy of Selling Your Way In, the playbook for setting your income and owning your life. Unpack this concept of selling your way in, and what your heart was behind this book, because this is something we can't wait to get in the hands of everyone in the Selling from the Heart audience.
Thank you. And I appreciate your support for sure. I didn't want to write a how-to book. I think there are plenty of how-to books out there, and I'm probably not even the best person to write a how-to sales book under some circumstances. But what I have seen over the years is sales professionals not putting themselves in the right position to own their income and own their life. I think a lot of times they say, I think the statistic is something like only 46% of sales professionals really intended to be a sales professional when they grew up. Only 100 universities and colleges across the United States even offer sales as a major or offer a certificate in it. So, lots of people fall into this profession accidentally. And I think what happens is they don't really understand all the options. And so I, wanted to write a book to help people. So the 3 sections within the book. And section number 1 is you've got to know yourself before you get to know the prospect. And so I spend the first third of the book talking people through understanding your sales superpower, understanding your sales secret weapon, understanding your strengths, and then figuring out how to play to those strengths. So helping them figure out the right type of sales profession or role for them. So again, there's so many to choose from. And I don't think most people even know the options, 100% commission, B2B, B2C, inside, outside, hunter, farmer, gatherer, solution consultant, sales engineer, implementation specialist. Like all of these things are under the sales umbrella. And I think that people, either fall out of the sales profession one way or the other, or just aren't completely satisfied or getting to the top 10%, as I call it. Becoming a top 10%er is knowing yourself well enough to pick the right role and also the right company and the right industry and the right product and the right service. So I spend a lot of time helping people do that throughout the book so that they can put themselves in a position to love what they do and get up excited and happy every day. So I think that was really the impetus. I got frustrated by seeing so many people be frustrated, right? And not hitting quota and thinking it was a grind and thinking it was a struggle. And I would say to myself, I called it my mommy speech. So I gave a lot of people my mommy speech and just said, like, you're so miserable because you're in the wrong sales role. You picked the wrong role. You don't even know it. And sales leaders were doing a crappy job of interviewing, because when I'm interviewing for my clients, for sales roles, I very frequently say to people, I hate to break it to you, but you're not a hunter. You're a relationship person. You want to be on the account management or the customer success side. You're going to be so much happier. And they go, oh, or I say to them like, hey, you've got technical aptitude. You should be a sales engineer. Have you thought about that? And they go, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I want to be the matchmaker, right? I want people to know themselves well enough to pick the right role so that they can become a top 10%er.
And what's really good about this, Kristie, is, I always stick by this motto: to know thyself is to value thyself. And I'm glad that you're bringing this to the forefront, because how many people are, especially in sales, are willing to open up that cupboard, look in and say, okay, what are my strengths? Where are my opportunities? Where am I not really good at? And then hone in on all of that to help them become better in sales. And I'm glad you're bringing this to the forefront. Sorely needed.
Yeah, thanks. And I think it's interesting. I'm getting ready to give a keynote and I'm talking about leveraging superpowers in order to unleash your full potential. And it's funny that you use the word honing, because it's one of the 5 things that I'm going to teach and talk about, which is identifying your superpower, developing it, honing it, pressure testing it, and then leveraging it. And, honing is a deliberate act of practice. Developing is something that happens almost organically, naturally over time. The more time you put yourself in X position or X situation, your skills will develop, but gradually over time. And honing is a deliberate act to enhance that skill and take it to the next level. And so I think that's the other thing that I'm really talking about in the book is, I think at some point you got to get real honest with yourself. And top 10%ers, this is my motto. This is my little phraseology, my Kristieism for this, but top 10%ers know that the work to get to the top actually happens outside of work, not during work.
Yep.
Here. Yes. Bravo.
Copycat, Darrell. You're a copycatter.
Couldn't agree with that more. And I think this is such an important, I love this concept of honing. Saying we're going to hone this, we're going to sharpen this, we're going to knock the rough edges off. And we're really going to take sales as a profession, as a craft, as an art form that we're going to master in all of this. And I think that mindset is so incredibly powerful. So we got this book and we're talking about selling your way in, the playbook for setting your income and owning your life. If you're listening in right now, which you are because you're hearing my voice, you want to hit pause and grab a copy of that wherever fine books are sold. Congratulations. The first part of the book is on knowing yourself.
Yep.
Where does the book go from there? What's part 2? You got me curious, and our audience as well.
Awesome. Section 2 talks about, once you've figured out those secret weapons and superpowers, how do you take the systems or the processes, if you will, and strategies that might be in a particular organization that you're in, and again, personalize and customize those to play to those superpowers and secret weapons and strengths. So just because you have to know, I always say, back to, I'm so old that Good to Great is still a book that I can quote several chapters from.
Great book. Great book.
Right?
Big
but I mean,
fan.
like, why do we, I often tell people, like, stop trying to improve your C, D, and F skills.
Mm-hmm.
And again, hone, develop, leverage your A and B skills.
Mm-hmm.
And so the second part of the book is all about the processes and how to make those your own, how to take a process that somebody, again, God willing, you walk into a situation where the company has sales processes in place, but being able to look at those and identify the ones where you just need to make a mid-course correction, or you just need to pivot a little bit or enhance something a little bit so that it plays to your strengths. And I think there aren't enough people doing that either. I think people get into a situation, and by the way, I think we do our children a disservice, and this starts in grade school, where we tell our children to acquiesce and follow the instructions of the teacher, and don't rock the boat, don't be the 10%er, be the 90%er. And so I think that's the mistake that parents make. I'm not looking for anybody to be in school suspension all the time, but the most innovative people aren't following the 90%, right? They're doing their own thing. Yeah. And so I'm in section 2 of the book, I'm giving them permission to make sure that you understand, when you look at a process, how do I customize, tailor, personalize this so it plays to my strength?
So I want to go back to this hone, but it's going to tie into what you just said, is coach us, whether you're listening or you're watching us right now on the podcast, is coach us along the way on what does that person do to hone in and isolate what are my A and B skills. So, let's just set aside the C, D, and E skills, however y'all want to identify them. But how does somebody hone in on and really get clarity on what are my A and B skills? Coach us along.
Yeah, I mean, it really starts actually back before honing. That's under the identifying category, right? So you need to ask yourself some of the following questions. What just seems to come easy to me that others think are hard to do? What seems to come naturally to me? What do other people come and ask me advice about? What do I love to do? And what have people told me my strengths are? A lot of people have taken assessments that might tell them this, aptitude tests, but you also probably hear from time to time, like, hey, you're a really good listener. I think sometimes people think about their superpowers in a professional setting, but I tell a story about my superpower. I really believe that if it wasn't for my superpower, that I would not be where I am today. And my superpower is generosity. And my motto is, I've got 30 minutes for everyone. And as a result of that superpower, and always saying yes, when people, I tell people, when I say I really want to help, I really want to help. And, people now take me up on it, but I'm proactive about that. Every single day, I'm looking for an opportunity to help someone make their life easier, get knowledge that they didn't have. And when my consultant, my founder story, if you will, starts with me being fired in 2016. And my boss flying in from San Francisco in December of 2015 and letting me know that the company was going through a restructure. And at the end of that, I would not have a job. And for years, I say I've been doing the right things by people. And when I reached out for help and said, I'm looking for a new job, I was really looking for another W-2 VP of sales, senior director of sales type position. All the people that I had always said yes to and had 30 minutes for came out of the woodwork to help. And so it's that back to do the right things and the right things will happen. I've been doing the right things by people. So first off, just identify. And again, I don't think people would think of generosity as a professional superpower, but it is, because I have knowledge and information that other people don't have. I affectionately say I got my MBA at the kitchen table because my parents owned a real estate firm and my dad was the owner broker and my mom was one of the top agents in town. And so our dinner conversations for my brother and me revolved around out-of-town buyers, commission checks, listings, and so I got business acumen and financial literacy that other people didn't have. And I truly believe that it's my responsibility to share that with people who didn't grow up the way I grew up and don't have the knowledge that I have. So sometimes I think you might think that asking questions or handling objections or negotiation is your superpower, but I bet a different type of superpower might benefit you universally.
Such a profound. Where were you 3 decades ago when I started my sales career? Like, I'm just listening the first 2 parts of this book. It took me maybe 5 to 10 years before I recognized all these different dimensions of sales. Had to go through several roles and all of that. And then the other thing, this whole thing about process, I just want to camp out here for a second, is I think a lot of salespeople go, well, this process doesn't fit me, so I'm just going to throw process out the window. I'm more of a kind of wing it kind of person, but that's not a good answer. The idea, though, of saying, what can I do to customize or tailor this process is almost like, just think about like a game like tennis or pickleball, to be more current. You know, there's some boundaries on this court and there's some ways to play, but you can choose the style of how you engage the game. So I think that's a really, really powerful thing for reps. So you got to share with us what the third chunk of this book is about, because this is dynamite, Kristie. I'm so excited to get this in people's hands.
Thanks. The third I did take from my, I grew up playing racquetball competitively, and now for the last 20-ish years, I play tennis competitively.
Perfect analogy. You couldn't have set that up any better.
Almost like you knew that, but you didn't. So I believe in the mental game, right? And I believe in the mental aspect. I also believe that top 10%ers understand it. And the first thing I share in section 3 is the interview question that I ask everyone. So if you interview with me in the future, here it is. Tell me 3 things that you do consistently, regardless of the job you're in or the company you're working for, that you believe will make you successful. And I can almost identify a top 10%er by the answers, and top 10%ers will tell me the following. I'm at the gym every morning by 6 a.m. I put my phone down for 2 hours at night so I can be present with my family. I have a circle of advisors. We meet regularly to hold each other accountable. Instead of watching The Bachelor, I read a business book. I'm listening to podcasts. The top 10%ers understand that the mental side of this, and that work, by the way, normally takes place outside of work. So those are the things, I've got a spiritual practice. I go to church on Sundays. There's a whole litany of these. But when I hear that, instead of, I make sure I don't leave without a to-do list at the end of every day for the next day. I'm super organized. I've got good follow-up skills. Like, those are table stakes, right? That's sales 101. And so I'm a big, because I grew up playing competitively, visualization, positive self-talk. I just recently read a book. I was always a big affirmation girl, and now I'm a big affirmation girl. There's a little book called The Little Book of Great Affirmations, and it's a different spin on affirmations. So all of those things, so every morning in the shower, I say my affirmations now, personal and professional type things. And again, like I said, compete regularly. I'm on a women's USTA team and we play our matches on Sundays, and I'm constantly repeating 2 things, in my head. You're the winner, not a winner, but you're the winner. And then I use the word win in other ways, like just win this point. You just need to win this next point. Just win the next point. And so, I'm also a Brene Brown fan. So years ago, I stopped saying, you're so lazy. And now if I have to be critical, I will say that was a lazy choice. And I think all of the best athletes and all the biggest sports teams have sports psychologists on staff. And there's a reason. Right? Like that, I use Novak Djokovic because of my tennis background, but his team is extensive and he only spends about 3 to 4 hours on the court a day practicing, but he spends 4 to 5 hours a day, yoga, mental, working through, on his oxygen, on stretching. He loves to be in nature. I talk about that in the book. I'm a big outdoor exerciser. And I like to be not on the street, but I like to be in a park. There's something about connecting with nature. So I get a little woo-woo, Darrell, at the end of the book.
All right.
Kristie, a little woo-woo is good. But I want everyone just to press pause on this for a second and reflect on the last couple minutes that Kristie just said. Because in Selling from the Heart, I write about the difference between a sales rep and a sales professional. Kristie refers it, to the top 10 percenters. What's your morning routine look like? Because that first hour of every morning is going to dictate what happens throughout the day. And I'm just a big believer sales professionals do the things that sales reps find excuses for. And what you just highlighted are the things that most people find excuses for. But you want to get to the next level? Go back and rewind and listen to the last 5 minutes of what Kristie just shared. That's the difference maker.
That's right.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do the work, right? I mean, and I truly believe in some cases, you can outwork, you might not be the smartest person in the room. You might not have the most natural sales skills in the room. You can outwork people. And there are things that you can do. And in the mental side of the game, I think is something that we just don't talk about. I do as a sales leader and as a fractional sales leader and in my consulting practices, because I know the importance of it. But if you think back between the three of us, how many sales leaders have we had in the past that talked about what you just said? Like, hey, you guys do you have a meditation practice? Do you have a spiritual practice? Do you go to the gym to work out? Do you occasionally get into nature? What do you say to yourself when the chips are down? Because like that, whatever you put into your head is what your body will react to. So the mind-body connection, I never hear anybody talk. I never, ever hear anybody talk about the mind-body connection that doesn't refer to sports, right? And it was something that you guys triggered earlier that I want to go back to. I'm very concerned, and Larry, you and I had talked about this on a different podcast that I had hijacked one day, and I had totally I totally crashed the wedding reception that day. But the art versus the science, and particularly in the SaaS world that I live in, we have gone way right on the science, and the art's getting left behind. And this is sort of this may be my next book. I don't know, because I'm on the soapbox big time right now about this. We are not training sales reps on sales soft skills.
Hey, can you say that again? Can you say that again a little bit louder?
We sales leaders, we are not training our sales professionals on sales soft skills anymore.
Oh, here, yeah, on that.
That reminds me of subtitle of a new book. Selling in post-trust world, soft skills that yield hard dollars.
Here's the problem. Like, it is a problem right now because people, like, we are now so reliant on the tech stack and AI and automation and all of that. But here's the problem, particularly in my world. I'm not going to call out every sales world or industry, but in the SaaS world, do we love to promote the top rep to sales leader? And so when we're not training, we're not training tomorrow's sales leaders today. And so what does 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line look like when today's sales professionals get to the top 10%? And whether they're qualified to be the leader or not, we're going to promote them. God love us. God love us. We're promoting them whether they're qualified or not. And how are they going to train their sales team when they were never trained? So we're going to have a world full of more unqualified, because in some cases they were unqualified to begin with, more unqualified sales leaders. And we're going to become more and more reliant on technology. And all I see on LinkedIn is surveys, polls. Do you think that AI will eventually take over your job, sales professionals? And people go, no, that's not going to happen. Well,
I've read people.
But decisions that we're making today are going to make it that much easier for automation, for AI, for software to take over a percentage of the positions. So that's my current thought. Despite all the other things I wrote about in the book, this is like my new current hot button, because I'm seeing it everywhere. Like, I'm just seeing, like, where it used to be, it's art, it's part art and part science, and it was 50-50. It's going so far to the science side. I'm terrified.
Oh, there's something I just got to throw down, because I'm batting 1,000 on this, but it plays on what Kristie just said. And I really don't care. Well, I do care, but I don't care as it relates to what I'm going to say is it doesn't matter what sales channel. I ask this question all the time to executives and sales leaders. If you're in sales, do y'all believe you're in the people business? and relationship building business, Kristie? And everybody says yes. Now, here's my follow-up to this, and it plays with what you were just saying. I said, well, if you believe that, then what are you doing as a leader and executive to coach and train your salespeople on people skills and relationship building skills if what I just shared with you, you agree upon? Kristie, no one has an answer. I have yet to have somebody look me in the eye and give me an answer. I'm batting 1,000 on it, which means there's room for improvement on this immensely around what you just
That was
said.
being really generous of you. Room for improvement.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Kristie, I'd be polite.
I was like, that was not what I would have said.
No, I know, but this is a G-rated podcast.
I know, it's
Kristie.
so sweet of you.
Well, what an amazing conversation, Kristie. And as I said earlier, I'm so excited for everybody to get their hands on Selling Your Way In, the playbook for setting your income and owning your life by Kristie Jones. Kristie, what can people do to get more Kristie Jones in their life?
Yep. A couple of things. One, sellingyourwayin.com will give you all the information you need about acquiring your own personal copy of the book. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also going to offer your readers a little excerpt. So if you're still unsure after this amazing podcast we've just had about whether or not you should go all in on purchasing the book, I'm going to put a little excerpt out on my website. So KristieKJones.com/selling from the heart will be a secret page for your listeners only, where they can get a little more information and some insider chapters.
Oh, this is good
super
stuff.
Cool. Kristie, thank you so much. We promised everyone this is going to be an incredible conversation. I think you over-delivered. We really appreciate you.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for having me on. It was so great. I loved our conversation.
Oh, take
super
care.
Cool. Awesome conversation,
Darrell.
Larry, and so much gold in there. Like I said earlier, I wish this book were around 3 decades ago when I got started. You know, we ended on this whole thing that I know is near and dear to your heart and our heart here at Selling from the Heart, which is soft skills yield hard dollars. Like these, investing in yourself and in your team on the art side of sales and not only the science, bringing that back into balance, maybe one of the best things you can do to build competitive advantage for yourself, for your team, for your company. Right now in a world where, you know, so many teams are leaning so heavily into the science. I think this is, we'll have to have Kristie back to unpack this in a future episode in a deeper way, because this is the ball game right now, and the work is done outside work, and this is where you need to do some work.
You know, absolutely. And, you know, it's so discouraging when people just use the word soft skills. I use it and all that. I mean, soft skills are the necessary skills. We just got to come up with a new phrase around soft skills.
Well, we got software. People like software.
Exactly. But here, no, true, Darrell. But there's
not all touchy-feely.
No, I know that. But there's some,
that's right.
This is why it's so important. And it goes back and Kristie dropped so many nuggets on us. And if you go back to, you know, Kristie alluded to the 10 percenters. These are the things the 10 percenters do better than anybody else. They work on the things afterwards, right? They work on the things when no one's watching. They work on themselves. They open up the cupboards. These are the people skills and relationship skills that will propel you to the next level. Here's our challenge. Will you become one of the 10 percenters?
That's right. Well, thank you to everyone for listening. Make sure to get your advanced reader copy of Larry's hot new book, Selling in a Post-Trust World. You can go to sellinginaposttrustworld.com. You'll get an autographed edition and some free bonuses. All we ask is when you get that book, you read it and you put a camera in front of your face, smile, and put it on social media so we can help spread the word as this movement grows, this movement of authenticity right here in the sales profession. Larry, this is such an exciting time right now. I'm so fired up for all that's ahead.
You are. It took me a long time to get to book 2, Darrell. It was a journey, but I'm so glad it's almost here.
Took me a long time to talk you into it. Hey, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. A special thank you to those who are leaving a review on the platform on which you listen. Till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, sell your way in, and most of all,
sell from the heart.